What if I told you that the most iconic item at Taco Bell, the thing you've probably ordered a dozen times after midnight, isn't really what it claims to be? That the beef in your burrito, the steak in your quesadilla, even the cheese in your nachos might not be food in the way you think of it. Former employees are stepping forward with disturbing revelations about what actually goes down behind the counter at Taco Bell. And let's just say, this is not a story for the faint of stomach. We're pulling back the curtain on one of America's most beloved fast food chains, and what we found will make you question every crunchy taco, cheesy wrap, and late-night craving you've ever had. Because according to insiders, the real secret ingredient at Taco Bell is illusion. Taco Bell calls it seasoned beef. Customers call it tasty. But behind the scenes, workers call it something else entirely. Science sludge. You'd think something that shows up in nearly every item on the menu would be made fresh, right? Not even close. The beef arrives frozen, in hard blocks that resemble brown bricks, vacuum-sealed and completely lifeless. These bricks are boiled in bags. Yes, boiled until they're soft enough to squeeze into pans. Once there, it's not just cooked, it's transformed. A combination of artificial spices, industrial thickeners like modified cornstarch, and anti-caking agents like silicon dioxide. Yes, the same stuff found in do-not-eat packets are added to create the perfect illusion of fresh, seasoned meat. And the real kicker? Only about 88% of this beef is actually beef. The rest? A filler cocktail of oats, soy, and mystery ingredients designed to stretch every pound as far as possible. It's not flavor, it's formula. And employees say that beef can sit under heat lamps for up to 5 hours, sometimes longer. If it dries out, no problem. They just stir in a little water, maybe some extra seasoning, and voila. Yesterday's beef is today's fresh taco. But that was just the beginning. Because the deeper you go into Taco Bell's kitchen, the worse it gets. So maybe you figured, forget the beef. I'll upgrade to steak. That's got to be better, right? Wrong. Taco Bell's grilled steak isn't grilled in-store. It's not even cooked fresh. According to former workers, the steak shows up chopped in plastic bags, swimming in a slick, shiny marinade that gives it a fake, just grilled look. Once opened, it's dumped onto a flat top or microwaved, whatever's faster, and reheated until it's passable. But reheating isn't the issue. It's what's inside. The steak is pumped with phosphates to retain moisture and create that chewy texture. And that's not a compliment. Employees say the texture is rubbery, sponge-like, sometimes described as beef-flavored gum. One even joked that it was the protein version of a dog toy. But the real danger comes from the shelf life. Once the bag is opened, that steak starts a countdown. But managers often stretch the limits, pushing it a day past guidelines if it smells fine. Because if it looks okay and doesn't smell rotten, it's getting served. That steak bowl could be leftovers from the day before, and no one would ever tell you. Still hungry? Let's keep going. For a while, there was one protein that actually required cooking on site: shredded chicken. Simmered in sauce, shredded by hand, and kept warm in trays, it was the closest thing to real food in the Taco Bell kitchen. So, why was it removed? Simple. Too much work, not enough consistency. Former employees say the chicken would dry out fast or turn mushy if even slightly overcooked. Some nights it was delicious. Other nights it was a disaster. And when customer complaints about texture started piling up, Taco Bell made a corporate decision. Instead of improving the prep, they scrapped the item altogether. Workers were relieved. It was time-consuming and hard to keep fresh. And just like that, an item that briefly flirted with being authentic vanished from the menu. But what replaced it was far more questionable. Grilled chicken strips. Sounds healthy, right? But in the Taco Bell world, that means pre-cooked, flash frozen, and dumped in bulk into warming trays. Just like the steak, it's loaded with phosphates and sodium to keep it from drying out. But that doesn't always work. Workers describe these strips as either dry and stringy or soft and rubbery, depending on how carefully they're handled. The catch? During slow hours, that chicken sits. Not for minutes, sometimes for hours, and then it's reheated. Again. Employees under pressure to avoid waste stretch every tray as long as possible. Meanwhile, utensils are reused, gloves aren't changed, and meats sit side by side on crowded prep lines. You order grilled chicken, but you might get a little beef in there too, or steak, or both. It's not just sloppy, it's a meat roulette. But there's one meat that almost no one talks about, and that's where it gets even weirder. At some locations, Taco Bell tested out ground turkey as a leaner alternative to beef. But don't let the healthy label fool you. Employees say this meat was the strangest of all. It arrived pre-cooked, frozen solid, and included a list of ingredients that looked more like a lab experiment than a recipe. Soy protein concentrate, water, modified starch, potassium lactate, and sodium phosphate. The texture? One employee called it meat toothpaste. Another said it looked like canned dog food before it was heated. And the flavor. Even the heavy seasoning couldn't cover up the metallic aftertaste from the chemicals. Worst of all, because it wasn't a top seller, it sat around even longer than the other meats, sometimes reheated multiple times across shifts. By the time it reached your taco shell, it had been frozen, thawed, cooked, cooled, and reheated more times than any food should. But that's just how it worked, and that's not even the most disturbing part of the kitchen. What happens when meat sits too long? Most fast food places would toss it. Taco Bell? Not always. Workers describe the freezer trick, where nearing expiration meat gets refrozen to reset the clock. Technically against policy. But it happens, especially during tight shifts or inventory shortages. Other times, meat that's drying out gets rescued with sauce, cheese, or sour cream to mask the texture. That taco you thought looked extra cheesy? It might be hiding something. During the rush, things get even sloppier. Same spatula for chicken and beef. Same gloves between meals. And no time to wipe down the grill, which means your food could be picking up scraps from previous orders. As one employee put it, it's not cross-contamination. It's a meat blender. Still think going vegetarian will save you? Not so fast. Taco Bell's beans come dehydrated, essentially bean powder, which is reconstituted with hot water, stirred, and dumped into steam trays. It's not uncommon for that mixture to sit for hours, drying out and thickening until it's practically paste. And then, just like the beef, add water, stir, serve. Workers say that during peak hours, it's nearly impossible to keep beans, rice, potatoes, and sauces from getting contaminated by meat residue. Utensils get swapped mid-task, gloves go unchanged, and food is prepped fast, not clean. So even your vegetarian crunch wrap might come with a little accidental chicken or beef. Not because of some scheme, but because no one has the time to care. But this next part? This is where it gets truly disturbing. In theory, Taco Bell has strict rules about food safety. Meats must be held at 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Gloves must be changed. Pans must be rotated. But in reality, speed beats everything. Former employees describe chaotic lunch rushes where meat is reheated instead of replaced. Thermometers are rarely used, and when food starts slipping into the danger zone, below safe temperatures, managers don't always toss it. Instead, they stir it more, hoping to mask the temperature drop with motion. New hires are often barely trained. Some don't know the difference between hot holding and hot mess. And it shows. One worker revealed that meat from closing the night before was sometimes cooled and saved for the next morning, despite official policies requiring disposal. They called it the end-of-day shuffle. You might call it leftovers, but it's worse than that. And all of this adds up to one disturbing truth. Taco Bell's seasoned beef defines the brand. It's in more items than any other ingredient. It's the go-to order, the flavor people crave. But it's also the most manipulated, recycled, rehydrated, and chemically treated item in the kitchen. It's not just seasoned, it's engineered. The meat is designed to survive hours under heat lamps, multiple reheats, and massive batch cooking. But that convenience comes at a cost. The flavor? Artificial. The safety? Questionable. The transparency? Non-existent. And the worst part, many employees say they wouldn't eat it themselves. That speaks louder than any ad campaign. So next time you roll up to the drive-thru and order a beef burrito, just remember, you're not eating what you think you are. You're eating what's left over. What's been stretched, dressed up, and reheated to look like something fresh. The meat might look right, smell right, and even taste okay. But behind that paper wrapper, there's a story you can't unsee.